Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy, I'm a certified attachment style coach, and I help anxious attachers break the cycle of avoidant and emotionally unavailable partners so that you can really thrive in your independence and prevent future heartbreak. And in this video, it's just an updated video of one that I did a couple of years ago on avoidant attachment. And I wanted to update this video because the community's grown. And also, I've learned a lot about the attachment style in those 2 years as well. So there are a lot of nuances in that attachment style that weren't covered in my video a couple of years ago. It was a very high level account of what dismissive avoidance is. And in a lot of my content, I mention dismissive avoidant, but I don't actually explain what that means. So this is why I'm making this video today, so that you can become more aware and so that you're not personalizing this behavior. Maybe your partner is avoidant, maybe you have an ex that's avoidant, and you sat there questioning yourself, thinking, oh, I'm the problem, that I'm why they're like this, I'm too needy, I'm too desperate. And I've been here before, so I know exactly what it is that you're going through. But if you want to discover what your attachment style is, I do have a free attachment style quiz in my bio for you to check out. Drop a comment below on which one you are. It is my belief, through experience and through specific trainings and through conversations with lots and lots of anxious attachers that have been in relationships with avoidance, that attachment styles are on a spectrum. So there are 4 main attachment styles. So we've got anxious attached, we've got fearful avoidant attachment, dismissive avoidant attachment, and secure attachment. So any attachment style that is not secure attachment is insecure attachment. So anxious, fearful avoidant, and dismissive avoidant are all insecure attachers. The start of the spectrum, which is severely anxiously attached people, and these are people that have a pervasive fear of abandonment. And what they do is they go into codependency mechanisms, they people please, they bend over backwards to make that person stay, they try to fix and change other people just to get proximity because they're terrified of abandonment. So we go through this spectrum, and then at the other end we have the dismissive avoidant, which ironically has exactly the same fear as the anxious attacher, but it just manifests in a different way. So the dismissive avoidant has very different coping mechanisms and coping strategies when it comes to abandonment. So they tend to push people away that get too close as a way to not deal with being abandoned, whereas the anxious attacher pulls people closer. So today's video, we're going to be focused purely on dismissive avoidant attachment styles because I think that's why most of us are here. And if you've had the pleasure of being in a relationship with the dismissive avoidant, it might answer a lot of questions for you. So the main things that I certainly notice from dismissive avoidant attachment style is they are very conflict avoidant. They avoid intimacy and vulnerability because they see it as weakness. They see it as this is a way for this person to get too close to me and then they'll hurt me. Is a pervasive fear of commitment. They fear being engulfed in a relationship. They fear having their autonomy taken away from them, and they fear being controlled. So if you've ever noticed with an avoidant partner, if you have expressed a need, for example, that person may well have dismissed you. They might have deflected the blame onto you. Anything that it takes for you to shut the conversation down. They avoid accountability. They don't want to accept that they've done anything wrong because really what they're running away from is this huge shame wound. And if the shame wound is triggered, they have defense mechanisms against that as well, which is where all the blaming comes from. So if you're wondering in your relationship, or maybe it was an ex, that why do I feel like I'm the problem all the time? This is exactly why. When you're with somebody who cannot take accountability for their actions, and you're with somebody who's consistently shifting the blame onto you, and you're with somebody who is really nitpicking you, the only conclusion you can really draw from that is that, oh, I must be the problem. This person's perfect and I must be the problem. But it's not true. Dismissive avoidants are incredibly uncomfortable with intimacy. So if you're trying to draw something out of them, they will shut down. So these signs may well be super familiar to you. You might think, yeah, actually, they did tick all of those boxes. And if that's the case, then know that this isn't anything to do with you. It's not anything to do with how worthy of love you are. This is their trauma. It's their wounds. And if they're choosing not to heal that, then they're just going to go and do this to somebody else. So don't feel like if I love them more, they might change, or if I love them more, they might open up, because that's unlikely to happen with a dismissive avoidant. So let's talk about coping strategies that they have to combat this and to really protect themselves. So the first thing that you will probably notice quite early on in the relationship, they don't discuss future plans. So if you make plans, it will be weeks, months if you're lucky, but never years into the future. They can't commit to that. Looking towards the future with somebody is really scary to an avoidant. And if I can compare it to something, that feeling must be very similar to the anxious attachers when they think they're going to be abandoned. They fear being controlled by their partner. They fear having their autonomy taken away because they believe in their mind that relationships equal entrapment or relationships equal control. They don't have any concept of what a secure relationship could look like. They don't think, oh, I can have a relationship and also feel freedom. They don't see it like that. They see very much in black and white. It's either relationship and feeling trapped or being alone and having freedom. So where does this come from? So the dismissive avoidant attachment style most often comes from having emotionally unavailable parents or caregivers. So they grew up in a household where they might have felt controlled. They might have enmeshment trauma. They might have felt like they didn't have freedom and autonomy as a child, and they felt quite engulfed, quite trapped. So when they get into their adult years, this is the fear that they have. They're really fearing going back to childhood and feeling smothered again. And another big hallmark of dismissive avoidant attachment style is their inability to be able to access and articulate how they feel. So that becomes problematic when you're in a relationship with somebody who's secure, fearful, avoidant, or anxiously attached, because all three of these attachment styles actually are able to access their emotions and they are able to articulate them quite well. But when it comes to dating or being in a relationship with a DA, because they can't access their own emotions, they can't access yours either, and it makes it incredibly difficult for them to empathize with how someone else feels. They might understand how you feel, but they can't empathize. They can't put themselves in your shoes. And what this is likely to do is it's going to make you feel incredibly lonely in the relationship. You're going to feel like you don't matter, that your feelings don't matter, that your values don't matter. Which brings me on to self-centeredness. The DA is incredibly self-centered. And this is because they're running on this low-level, constant state of anxiety that might not be visible to their partners, but this is what's happening. And when you're in a low-level state of anxiety all the time, you're very much in your head. You're very much thinking about me. How do I survive? What do I need? And what you'll also find is that they resource guard things like space, like time, like energy, sometimes money. I mean, dismissive avoidance can be quite stingy, but this is because of that low-level state of fear that they're constantly in. So they have to guard their resources because that is what makes them feel safe. So they're always sort of on this hamster wheel of trying to seek safety. But the sad thing about dismissive avoidance is that deep down, they do crave connection. So they've got this real deep craving of connection, but this real deep fear of connection as well. So as you can imagine, there's always this inner conflict going on. And this is what creates the dismissive avoidance cycle, their relationship cycle. So they feel this need for connection. So they will go out into the world, they'll find somebody. They'll go through the dating phase and the honeymoon phase. They'll feel great in that because they're getting this connection that they're craving. But then as soon as there's expectation, this is when the attachment style is triggered. So when there is a connection or somebody is looking for a connection with them, this is the attachment style that's triggered. This is the fear that's being triggered. So they will start to emotionally distance themselves from their partner, and you're left thinking, what the hell just happened? All I did was ask them what their intentions were and where this was going, and now I haven't spoken to them for 3 days. And what will happen then is that the dismissive avoidant will start to nitpick their partner. They will start to look at reasons why they're better off on their own. They will start to look at their partner's faults and problems within the relationship. But realistically, these problems are solvable problems. But they don't see it like that. They get so hyperfixated on what the problem is, no matter how small, and use that as a reason to end the relationship, which does you both a disservice because, number one, you're stuck there feeling really abandoned and feeling really confused about what's gone on, and the avoidant will never heal because they keep going through the same cycle over and over and over again. So they're never going to receive any healing because they never stay in a relationship for long enough to be able to really address their fears and to really be able to look at what their core wounds were or go into their childhood and heal that. Another thing that you'll notice with avoidance is the lack of accountability. So if you're the ex of an avoidant, you've likely been conditioned to think that all that was your fault. And I'm here to tell you that it absolutely isn't. And just so that you know, I have helped clients all over the world, myself included, heal their attachment style. And these people have had this very same problem, that they're stuck in a cycle of relationships with avoidance and unavailable partners. I do have slots open for one-to-one coaching. The link is in my bio for that. But when it comes to accountability, the avoidant will avoid accountability. And one of the big reasons for this, when they were younger, they might have been overly punished for doing quite a small thing. So the punishment didn't necessarily fit the crime. So what they did to survive this was to deflect the blame. Somebody else did it, it wasn't me. And their parents might have really shamed them for doing quite small things. So they carry this pattern into their adulthood where when there is a perceived criticism, they fall into the same pattern, deflect, deny, gaslighting maybe, so that they don't have to deal with the accountability, because admitting fault equals shame to this person and they don't want to feel shame. So they will do whatever is necessary to not feel that feeling. And if you want to know what happens if you stayed with this person, and I can certainly vouch for this, if you stay with this person and that person has no intention of healing, you are going to feel extremely alone in this relationship. You are going to be going through the same cycle on and on and on. It's going to feel like Groundhog Day, and every time it happens, it's going to chip away more at your self-esteem. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to end this relationship or not, and I'm not here to tell you whether you should or whether you shouldn't, I'm just here with information and advice. And all I can do is recount what my experience was being in a long-term relationship with somebody with a dismissive avoidant attachment style. And having come out of that and can see clearly what went on and how things transpired, I can categorically tell you that unless this person is interested in healing, you're going to feel like you're getting blood out of a stone. You're going to feel like you don't matter. You're going to feel like you have to work extra hard to get any sort of breadcrumb from this person. And it's not healthy. It's not going to help you heal your attachment style either. It's going to keep you in this codependent pattern where you feel like you have to meet their needs above yours. It's like you're a sunflower, and instead of looking at the sun, you're looking to them for approval, for validation, for them to meet one of your needs occasionally. It's not fun. If you can think about what your situation is like now, imagine where you will be in 5 years' time if that didn't change. How would you feel? What does that look like to you? What does it look like to spend your life with somebody who will never, ever admit fault? Somebody who nitpicks, somebody who does not have the capacity to meet any of your needs. And I'm here to tell you that there is better out there. There are people that are more secure that will bend over backwards to meet your needs willingly. who do care about how you feel, who you are going to matter to, who you won't question whether that person cares about you or not, because they will make it blindingly obvious. So although the dismissive avoidant attachment style, no, it's not their fault. Yes, it's from childhood trauma, but it is their responsibility to heal it. It's not your fault that they're like this. This came along way before you were in the picture. You're not responsible for fixing something that you didn't break. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, drop a comment below. I do have a 6-week self-study course coming soon, so subscribe to this channel if you want information on that, but I will see you next time.